Welcome to Lesson 6. This lesson is about writing an academic essay. In this lesson, we will first review the basic parts of an essay, and then we will discuss the process, comparison, contrast, cause-effect, and persuasive patterns of development or organization. The third stop would be academic essay. Fourth, we will be discussing briefly what an outline is. Fifth, the focus is on thesis statement. And the last focus in this lesson is the outlining of a 5-paragraph essay. Moving on to the first part of this lesson, let us talk about the parts of a 5-paragraph essay. Do you still remember the basic parts of a collegiate 5-paragraph essay? Here they are. A 5-paragraph essay is, of course, composed of 5 paragraphs. The first paragraph is expected to be the introduction. Paragraphs 2 to 4 are expected to be the body paragraphs, while the last paragraph or the 5th paragraph is supposed to be the conclusion. We will discuss in detail further the parts of a 5-paragraph essay in this lecture. For the second part of this lecture, we will be discussing 4 patterns of development or 4 patterns of organization, mainly the process, comparison contrast, cause-effect, and persuasive patterns. When you use the process pattern of development or the process pattern of organization, you will be aided in writing a process essay. The purpose of a process essay is to explain the steps involved in an action, process, event, or procedure. It is a set of instructions explaining the most effective means to achieve a desired result. In a process essay, it is expected still that the first paragraph is the introduction. In the introduction, you should mention the needed equipment or tools for a certain procedure. Paragraphs 2 to 4 will disclose the steps required to accomplish the desired result, while the 5th paragraph is the conclusion. There are 2 ways of organizing information in the body paragraphs. The first structure that you may use in organizing the steps in paragraphs 2 to 4 is the chronological structure. Using the chronological structure, the steps are described in order in which they should be performed. This method is helpful for teaching a person a new skill. If you are going to use, however, the second structure, which is the priority structure, then you will organize the steps in order of the most important to the least important step. This method is useful for teaching a new concept. Okay, so remember that these 2 structures in organizing a process essay are only applicable in paragraphs 2, 3, and 4. So how are you going to organize, for example, the steps in cooking lasagna? Which of the 2 structures would be the best structure to use to explain the steps in cooking lasagna? Of course, it's the chronological structure. But if you are going to teach, for example, a man to woo a lady, okay, of course, the steps would vary from man or from person to person. Okay, so the priority structure may be employed in organizing the steps in paragraphs 2 to 4 of a process essay. On this slide is a table with the transition words or phrases and the connectors that may be used in a process essay. The next pattern of development or pattern of organization is the comparison contrast pattern. When you use the comparison contrast pattern, then you are writing a comparison contrast essay. The purpose of a comparison contrast essay is to make point by showing readers that two distinct items are either similar or different. When you compare, you point out the similarities. But when you contrast, you look at or you point out the differences. In a comparison contrast essay, you need to have two distinct subjects. Okay, so for example, football. You may compare contrast American football with European football. What else? You may compare contrast, for example, your current partner and your ex. Okay, so that's what we mean by having two distinct items or subjects for comparison or for contrast. There are two ways of organizing information in paragraphs 2, 3, and 4 in a comparison contrast essay. We have the block method and the point-by-point method. When you use the block method, you first present information about the first subject in paragraph 2. So the focus in paragraph 2 is subject number 1. Then you shift your focus to subject 2 in paragraph 3. Again, in paragraph 3, your focus will be on subject 2. And then in paragraph 4, the two are compared or contrasted. When you use point-by-point method, you use 1 point for comparison in each body paragraph. And you discuss both subjects in relation to that 1 point. To further explain these two structures, in the succeeding slides, you will see tables. What you are seeing here is a table which actually looks like an outline for a comparison contrast essay using the block method or structure. So, if you're going to compare or contrast, okay, you choose between the two. Are you going to compare them, look for the similarities, or contrast them, the two subjects? You should choose first between the two. Are you going to look at the similarities? Are you going to discuss the similarities or the differences? And then after deciding, you next choose your structure or your method. If you would use the block structure, then this is how your essay would look like. So basically, paragraph 1 will still remain the introduction with these parts. The last sentence should be the thesis statement. Paragraphs 2, 3, and 4 are the body paragraphs. Now, the body paragraphs, the organization of information here will depend on the structure. If you are going to use this structure or this method, then this is going to be the arrangement of information in your comparison contrast essay. In paragraph 2, your focus is subject A or subject 1. You will mention here characteristic number 1, characteristic 2, characteristic 3. In paragraph 3, your focus will shift to subject B or subject number 2. You will likewise discuss the same characteristics. Okay? For example, physical appearance of subject A is discussed in paragraph 2. Then the same thing, physical appearance, should be discussed in paragraph 3 to talk about subject B. In paragraph 4, you will either compare or contrast subjects A and B. And eventually, in paragraph 5, you will indicate whether these two are the same or not. On the other hand, if you're going to use the point-by-point structure or point-by-point method, then this is how your essay would look like. Okay, paragraph 1 will still be the introduction. Paragraphs 2, 3, and 4 are your body paragraphs, while paragraph 5 is your conclusion. But the arrangement of information in paragraphs 2, 3, and 4 will not be the same way as in the first example in the previous slide. Okay, here, by using point-by-point method, paragraph 2 will be focused on characteristic number 1. Okay, for example, physical appearance is the focus of paragraph 2. You will compare or contrast the two subjects in paragraph 2 based on this characteristic. Paragraph 3 will focus on another characteristic, okay, and you will compare or contrast the two in paragraph 3. Paragraph 4 will be again about another characteristic, and here you will compare or contrast once again the two distinct subjects. The third pattern of organization or development is the cause-effect pattern, and this pattern will aid you in writing a cause-effect essay. A cause-effect essay discusses the reasons or results of an event or situation. Now, if you're going to use this pattern, you will have to first choose between writing about the reasons or the causes or the effects or results of a certain event or phenomenon. You have to choose, okay? As I have said in the previous slide, in organizing information in paragraphs 2, 3, and 4 of a cause-effect essay, you need to decide between writing about the causes or writing about the effects. These are the two ways of organizing those paragraphs in a cause-effect essay. You either focus on the causes or the effects. When you choose to focus on the causes, you write about the things that happened or the reason why a certain phenomenon or thing happened, happens, or will likely reoccur. If you will focus on the effects, then of course, your focus is on the effects of a certain event, phenomenon, or situation. On this slide are some of the transition words and connectors that you may use in a cause-effect essay. The last pattern of development or organization is the persuasive pattern, and we use this pattern to write persuasive essays. Persuasive or argumentative essays are essays in which a writer defends a position or a claim with a series of solid reason or evidence. Persuasive or argumentative essays are contributory to scholarly and civil growth because it allows the receiving of observed insights and ideas as well as the responding to them. Persuasive or argumentative essay is often a requirement in the academe. Now, I would like to further explain bullet number 2. Persuasive or argumentative essays are essential to all forms of academic writing because when we write, we simply make visible our thoughts, our insights, or ideas. I repeat, when we write, we make visible our insights and ideas. And these insights and ideas are the things that occur to us when we encounter the real or material world. And when we choose to make these insights or ideas visible, we must order these thoughts in some way so that others can receive as well as respond to them. So in short, when we choose to make visible our insights and ideas of the world through writing, we allow others to critically think. We allow others to use their minds in order to respond to our observations or to our ideas. And when this happens, this give and take becomes the heart of scholarly enterprise, and it makes possible civilization growth. So imagine if people would stop observing the material world, if people would stop inquiring, observing, and then writing about their observations, people would also naturally stop thinking. And without thinking, without evaluation of what we are seeing, of what we are experiencing, growth is hampered. Growth is delayed. Okay, so persuasive or argumentative essays are contributory because this particular type of essay does not simply provide factual information. Instead, it argues, it persuades others to take a side, and often this side is something new. Okay, when something new is provided or is delivered, it may lead the way to growth. It may lead the way to a discovery of something that has been concealed for years. Okay, I hope that you got that. In this course, you will not be tasked to write a process, comparison contrast, or cause-effect essay. You will instead be required to write an academic essay. An academic essay is simply a persuasive or argumentative essay. Okay, because an academic essay or academic writing requires a clear sense of argument. It has to have a purpose. It should have a clear thesis that will be supported by enough evidence. Also, this particular essay should be able to anticipate counter-arguments in order to preserve whatever the claim is in the thesis. Okay, let's focus more on the purpose. Your purpose is your motive. The mere existence of the assignment or deadline is not an enough purpose to write an academic essay. That should not be your purpose. I will write an essay in order to submit an academic essay. When you write an essay, you are never simply transferring information from one place to another. Or should you show that you have mastered a certain amount of material? That is going to be boring. You're simply transferring information. Instead, what you should be doing is that you should try to make the possible case, make a possible case for an original idea that you have arrived at, okay? You should make the best possible claim or case for an original idea that you have realized after you have immersed yourself in a material. After, say, for example, reading and rereading a text, after performing an experiment, or after carefully observing an object or a behavior. After mong gawin yun, after doing those things, possible activities, okay, reading and rereading a text, performing an experiment, or perhaps simply by observation, you will be able to generate insights. You will be able to see patterns. And after seeing these patterns, come up with an original idea. Come up with a case, come up with a claim, and then back your claim with evidence. Okay, that's how you should write an academic paper. You are not supposed to be simply transferring information, known information to people. It has to be contributory to the growth of yourself and others. Okay, so that's it. Briefly, that's how an academic essay should be. We will discuss further how to write an academic essay in the succeeding slides. To plan your academic essay, you may resort to outlining. Outlining is a way to logically structure your essay. An outline is a general plan of the material that is to be presented in a speech or a paper. An outline shows the order of the various topics, the relative importance of each, and the relationship of these topics to the other parts, and most especially to the thesis statement. An outline will also help you save time in the revision process, because through an outline, you will reduce the possibility that your ideas will have to be rearranged once you have written them. So an outline is a practical way of structuring your essay. How to write an outline? To write an outline, you must first begin with a thesis statement or a summarizing sentence. A thesis statement is the same as a summarizing sentence. The thesis statement or the thesis sentence or summarizing sentence presents the central idea of the paper. It must always be a complete grammatical sentence, specific and brief, which expresses the point of view you are taking towards a particular topic or subject. Its expected location is the end of the introduction. It should be the last sentence of your introduction. When you write your thesis statement, make sure that it's not going to be categorized or classified as any of the following. A thesis statement should not be a question. It should not be answered with a simple yes or no. Okay, for example, this one, why did communism collapse in Eastern Europe? This one is a question. If we would convert it into a yes-no question, then that also will be considered as wrong. Okay? A thesis statement should not be a question. A thesis statement should also not be a topic, not a fact, not an opinion. Now, some of you might be thinking, ma'am, when we make a claim, when we make a case, are we not forming an opinion? Okay, definitely not. Because if you would look up the meaning of the word opinion, the definition would tell you that, okay, here on the internet, at dictionary.com, the definition of the word opinion is that it is a belief or judgment that falls short of absolute conviction, certainty, or positive knowledge. In contrary, when you make a case, when you make a claim, you should be certain about your case. You should be certain about your claim. And you will fortify or support that claim or case with ample evidence or supporting details. But when you make an opinion, you are uncertain. You are not sure. And you don't have a positive knowledge about it. Okay, so that's a difference between the word opinion and claim or case. A thesis statement should also not be a list, like this one. For political, economic, social, and cultural reasons, communism collapsed in Eastern Europe. Okay, Most students would write a thesis statement this way. This is a weak example of a thesis statement. You have to restate your thesis statement in order for it not to look like a list. A thesis statement should also not be combative, confrontational, and vague. Example is this one. Communism collapsed in Eastern Europe because communism is evil. The word evil is vague. The word evil is combative, it's confrontational. Okay, so avoid words which are vague, very difficult to explain. Another example is the word best. How can you gauge that something is best? It's also vague. Okay, so avoid words such as best and evil, subjective words. Avoid subjective words. After knowing what a thesis statement is not, let us now proceed to the writing of an effective thesis statement. So how to write an effective thesis statement? The first step is the analyzing of your primary sources. Look for the patterns. Look for tension, repetitions, contradictions, ambiguity, complication, interests, biases, and so on and so forth. After identifying these patterns, ask questions about them. Example questions. Does the author contradict himself or herself? Is a point made and then later revised or reversed? By figuring out the why to one or more of your questions, why did the author contradict himself? Why did the author reverse his or her statement earlier? When you start answering that particular why question, you will be able to develop a working thesis. For example, you have been reading about parapsychology. Parapsychology is the study of mental phenomena which are not included in orthodox psychology. Examples are hypnosis, telepathy, uh, clairvoyance. Yeah. For example, you have been reading a book about parapsychology written by a reputable author who claims to be an expert in parapsychology. Eventually, after years, you have realized that this author changed the first edition of his book about parapsychology, and majority of the contents in that original version was revised para is a completely new book. Okay? That eventually you would realize that it has been a recurring pattern. Paulit-ulit na nangyayari that he would publish one book and after some time he would make amendments or revisions that would make the original version almost a complete overhaul. Now, if it is a pattern, ask your questions to come up with a working thesis. One good question would be, why is this author revising most of his works? Why? By means of answering that question, you can come up with a working thesis. You will be able to look for possible answers that would support a developing case or stand in your head. Okay? It would start with an opinion, definitely. Perhaps this author is changing his position on this particular field of study because of this. Okay? But after some time of immersing yourself into your sources, you would come up with a solid thesis. Okay? So what am I trying to say here? your thesis, your preliminary thesis, may eventually be changed because it would start with most definitely an opinion, which does not have a strong conviction. But as you immerse yourself into your sources, you may be able to come up eventually, gradually, with a solid thesis, with a solid case. Okay? Without the why, without the question why, if you cannot ask the question why, then you are most probably coming up with simply an observation, okay, which is not a thesis. If you cannot question your preliminary thesis, then it's most probably simply an observation. It could be something factual, okay, that cannot be argued upon. Okay, so that is how to write an effective thesis statement. You have to first analyze your primary sources. You really have to immerse yourself into a material. Step 3. Write down your clear, logical, and concise thesis. A thesis has two important parts. First, it has to be clear about the claim or the topic and the plan to argue that particular topic. Examples for comparison. Which of the two do you think is clear, logical, and concise? Is it this one, the first one, or the second one? Communism collapsed in Eastern Europe because of the ruling elite's inability to address the economic concerns of the people. Or this one, communism collapsed due to societal discontent. Obviously, some of you might say, of course, ma'am, the longer one is definitely the best choice compared to the other one. Okay, that is correct. This one is better because it is clear, logical, and concise. It is specific as possible. Okay, what is this societal discontent? This can be vague. Okay, so to make it even more specific, in this sentence or in this thesis statement, the societal discontent is identified, clearly identified. What is that? Ruling elites' inability to address the economic concerns of the people. Fourth step, anticipate the counter-arguments of your thesis. Once you have a working thesis, you should think about what might be said against it. This will help you to refine your thesis. As mentioned a while ago, your preliminary thesis may change as you go along the way. Okay, you will not be able to write out a final draft version of your thesis the first time, but you will get yourself on the right track by first writing it down and anticipating counter arguments. It will also help you, when you anticipate counter arguments, it will also help you refute these counter arguments in your essay. Every argument, every good thesis statement has a counter argument. If your thesis statement doesn't have a counter argument, then it is not an argument. Okay, and your thesis statement is ineffective. It may be a fact or an opinion, but definitely not an argument. Okay, so this perhaps can also help you tell whether or not your thesis statement is effective or correct. Does it have a counter argument? If it does not have a counter argument, then it may be a fact or an opinion that cannot be backed by evidence or supporting details. After writing down a preliminary thesis statement, you need to complete the rest of the outline. Outlining, as mentioned in one of the previous slides, can help you structure your essay. And when you outline, you have to categorize the information. The most common order in outlines is to go from the general to the specific. This means you begin with a general idea, and then just below that general idea, you provide the detailed or the support which are more specific, okay, such as examples. The two main types of outlines are the topic outline and the sentence outline. In the topic outline, the headings are given in single words or brief phrases, while in the sentence outline, obviously, all the headings are expressed in complete sentences. On this slide is an example of a sentence outline. And as mentioned a while ago, an outline begins with a thesis. Okay, this is an example thesis statement, although this is a weak example. Okay, the abuse of alcohol and drugs can affect a person economically, psychologically, and physically. If we were to rephrase it to make it better, we can say it like this. A person's economical status, as well as his psychological and mental conditions, may be affected by his or her abuse of alcohol and drugs. Okay, so that would make it not look like a list. Okay, if this is the thesis statement for a planned essay, then in Roman numerals number 1, 2, and 3 are those three factors, okay, or are those three aspects of life affected by alcohol and drug abuse. Alcohol and drug abuse can affect one economically. So this is one of those three life aspects affected by drug and alcohol abuse. In bullet number 2, alcohol and drug abuse can have severe psychological effects. Okay, that's the other life aspect affected by the abuse. And in the third section, the third aspect is given emphasis physically. Okay, and then just below each are two subdivisions. Remember, that's one rule that you should bear in mind. Okay, each section of an outline should have at least two subdivisions. Okay, two subdivisions. You cannot divide one into also, you cannot divide one and come up with a result that is also 1. Okay, when you divide 1, you would come up with 2. So that is basic rule in outlining. Under each section, you should have at least 2 subdivisions. Okay, so, and under each subdivision, there are 2 more subdivisions to provide specific examples to explain them. Okay, so how does alcohol and drug abuse affect one economically? The cost is high and it's getting even higher. So provide 2 specific examples. The cost of drug is also becoming more expensive. Provide 2 more examples, specific examples. Okay, so the same things should be done in these 2 parts of the outline. If the sentence outline in the previous slide would be converted into a topic outline, it would look like this. Okay, this is an example of a topic outline. So you are seeing here only words and phrases. Words, okay, and phrases. On this slide, I have decided to show both outlines. This is the sentence outline, and this is the topic outline for you to see the difference between the two. Okay, this is the thesis statement for the planned essay. Okay, so in the topic outline, you're seeing the phrase economical effects. Economical effects. Economical effects. Alcohol and drug abuse can affect, okay, effects one economically. So what are those identified economical effects? First, we focus on alcohol, okay, because these are the two topics or the subjects, alcohol, and then for the second subdivision, drugs, alcohol, drugs. Okay, cost of alcohol abuse, cost of DUIs, cost of alcohol purchase. Okay. I hope you're seeing the differences and the similarities. After learning how to create an outline, how to write a thesis statement, and what an academic essay is, we now proceed to the last part of the lesson, which is the writing of a 5-paragraph academic essay. But instead of showing you bulleted items, what I will show you here is a flow chart that will illustrate how to write an academic essay. So the first thing to do is, of course, to prepare your thesis statement, which would appear in your introductory paragraph or the first paragraph. In writing your introduction, you need to begin with usually a hook. Do you still remember what a hook is? A hook can be a question, a short narrative, a quotation, or a description that is, of course, supposed to be related to your topic. And its purpose is to grab the attention of your readers. After presenting the hook, say for example a question, answer that question to present the overview of the argument. Okay. When I say overview of the argument, okay, briefly explain to your readers the context of the topic. Okay, present the context of the topic. Explain using layman's terms, some terminologies which are related to the subject. Explain what's going on so far in relation to the topic, and then end your introduction with your case. Okay, this is what's going on with this particular topic as of now. For example, have you heard of people who can do telepathy? Okay, I myself have been enthralled by the idea of moving things without physically touching them. And this has led me to my purchase of books about parapsychology. And one of the prominent authors, for example, that I have been following is this person. But in the past decades, Mr. Blank has been repeatedly altering contents of his books. Are you getting the point? And then end your introduction with your thesis statement. This has led me to a stand that blah 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 Mr. Ganon is changing his mind with regards to this because of the following reasons. Okay, those reasons will be your supporting evidence that will be discussed in body paragraphs 2, 3, and 4. Next, in body paragraphs 2, 3, and 4, you present your evidence. Each body paragraph should focus on only one piece of evidence to support your case. Describe. You may also describe and refute the key points of the opposing view. Okay? You may also present in your body paragraphs the counter arguments. Okay? And then refute them through the use of your, or through the discussion of your evidence. when you present counter arguments in your essay will be more than effective in presenting your case. Okay, so however, should you wish not to include counter arguments in your essay, and should you only choose to present the evidence that you have, that will also do. Okay, but again, if you would present counter arguments, that would be a better move in fortifying or strengthening your claim on a certain matter or on a certain issue. After presenting your evidence or evidences in paragraphs 2, 3, and 4, of course, you end with your conclusion, which is expected to be paragraph 5. In your conclusion, you begin by restating your thesis. So when I say restate, you mention again your claim using other words, and then reinforce your restated thesis using by means of mentioning in brief the supporting evidence that you have discussed in body paragraphs 2, 3, and 4. You may also end your conclusion with a call for action or a question that is related to your hook. Okay, so basically this flow chart can actually help you outline a 5-paragraph academic essay structure. If you want to read more about the topics in this lecture, you may read these articles by these authors on the Writing Center at Harvard University website. This is the end of Lesson 6.